Good morning. Back to another stream. Stream? Not streaming. Welcome back to another video. Hoping to get another kind of relaxed hour or so. Work towards this editing screen. We're just going to keep making slow progress. Life's just kind of too busy to sit down and do a big chunk. I don't know if you can hear as well. I think I'm just ill again somehow. My throat's really going on me. But we'll do what we can. I do not remember if we left any to-dos. Let's have a look. Store up, don't care is not what we're after. Do we leave anything in the readme? Click the piece button, show that it's selected, and initialize the edit grid. Right. Because if we come in here and we do our run script, edit can now show all these pieces, and we can associate callbacks to all the buttons. Got a grid that's still not interactive. And what I want to be able to do is click one of these and put it in here. Because what the buttons will do will depend on what that state looks like. Cool. So I guess what we need is the edit screen state needs to know which 0 to 7 is the active piece. And then when we click, we want to set that active piece. That feels like step 1. So let's go grab this. Piece buffer is our local state. Oh, with the pieces in it. Just reminding myself, so I think we've got this information duplicated because the thinking is we come into the edit screen, we want to load up what you currently have. We still want you to be able to click cancel and get back to, like, abandon your change if you've changed your mind. Sip of water, see if I keep my throat going. So what did I say then? Active piece index will be an int, and I'll just default it to 0. Right. Then in here, then that entity bit. It is. So we've got our side panel, entity push, all of this stuff. Main grid, entity push, grid entity. Build probably needs to live. Edit screen state. What am I talking about there? Right, so piece data is our chunk of data there. Why not have the state pulled out somewhere? And all this. Surface dim equals that. Go state to game state dot edit state. Piece buffer. That's state dot active piece index. Now, why have I brought bounding dim and rot center with them? I don't know. Oof. But that's the piece that we need there. Right, so if we do that, we should see our grid gets the first thing in it. There you go. And I will... Another quick win off this, because where we've got all of our callbacks... Oh, good. Where had to find them? Populate, edit screen entities. Edit screen entity. Edit screen ent. I gotta keep going up. Edit screen ent. No? We were just looking at it. Populate entities. Price map. Oh, big sniff down the mic. Soz. There, we've got all our buttons, and those buttons have all of this. Edit pieces on click. Comes into here. So instead of doing that, we need... Okay, we need to pass that game, don't we? So we get game and N. We will take... Oh, no, we can't do that. Can we do that? We'll take all of these, and we'll say you're called game now. Edit pieces on click. All of these. Can I do like that? Or game number. And you, sir, can now go game.state. .edit state. Not allowed? Why not allowed? Not state or edit state. State is equal to that. What does that make your type? Makes you into an edit state. How do I get pointer to that though? I do it like that. That would be a pointer to the edit state. Then I can do state.activePieceIndex is equal to n. See if I can do it in one line like this. Then click. We can move around. How fun's that? Excellent. Don't want to cough. Right, so that lets us load up data. It would probably be nice to also show something to show which of these is the selected button, right? What's the easiest way to do that? Tell you what, you know, if you've seen any of these, I love a working place checkpoint. I think particularly all of this like working first thing in the morning. I don't know. I feel like I'm not as like switched on as I normally am. I feel like I'd make a lot of silly mistakes. It's quite nice to have regular points that I can just hop back to where things were. Right, so we're already updating which one is the active piece. So again, we're back to our entities populating function. We're in here. So inside the side panel, so we can just draw a square, right? We've got this gap around them. So if I just say, where's my Z values? Somebody somewhere must have a Z value. No, the stuff that makes it drawable will make a Z value. So piece button entity. Can you just know if you've been selected? Would that work? So the thought that I've had is we could pass through a selected on piece button entity and have it just draw a box around itself that's slightly bigger than itself. I don't think that's the way to go though, because it means that it's actually going to be bigger than the dimension that we're passing in, which feels like a bad way to do it. I think instead what we might want is a separate entity. Painful to have it be an entity though. In principle, I was always thinking entities kind of know what they're like a thing in the game. I guess this is like selection box, piece button selection box. The alternative is what we do is we say actually that the gap around the piece buttons is part of the button. So in that kind of like CSS flexbox style, we make it padding, not margin, right? We consider it to be part of the entity. I feel like that's also slightly awkward to reason about. I think we're going to add a selected piece button. Selected piece button box. This definitely works, right? So this isn't complicated. Clickable is false. Means on click must be nil. Should I call it piece button selected box? So piece button is easy to grep for, I guess. Piece button selected box. Data doesn't need anything, but we do need to go and add that to our type. Let's head back. If I try and compile that, we'll find where our switch statement is, I think. Up. Stick it in here. Case, piece, button selected box. Draw, piece, button selected box, entity. We're curious to see if anybody ever watched these videos, what people make of this entity drawable solution I found. It is kind of the first run at something like this that I've really taken. And I'm slightly torn. It feels quite boilerplatey. It feels like there's a lot of like steps, but at the same time, I don't know. It has felt easy to extend and reason about. Things are still relatively simple, so maybe it scales poorly as things keep getting more complicated. But so far, I've not hit anything where I was like, how do I do that? Which feels a good sign. I will be interested once we get this done. I've made a bit of a to-do list of what things there are left to do before I consider this done. Once we get there, I think it'll be interesting to go and have a bit of a read of how other people write game engines and handle these things. I'm sure this is a much more solved problem than than it was to me. Okay, let's have a think. So what do we want to do with selected box? We want to do a draw rect. Color. With a grey. Entity pos, entity dim. This is the important point, is whatever our piece is set to, we need to be behind that. So let me go ahead and say piece button Z. I'll say piece button selected box Z can be slightly behind it. Come back. Piece button. Sorry, gone to the wrong place. You, sir, can now use your own value. And the important bit is this one. No, to use that value, which is less, and therefore will be behind it. Cool. We head back to our entity generating system in here. Piece button pause, piece dim. And then we'll say here if. Oh my god, is it state? Yeah, boy. If active piece index is equal to piece index, entity push, piece, piece button, selected box entity, piece button pause. Nope, can't do that. I've not defined arithmetic functions for these, have I? Is it cancel and then pause plus all this stuff? Okay, so that'll be it. X is equal to piece button pause minus horizontal gap. Y piece button pause. That's dot X. That's dot Y minus yeah, minus vertical gap. This will also take a dim. Width will be equal to piece button dim dot width plus 2 times horizontal gap height piece button dim height plus 2 times vertical gap. Right. Let's see. That looks as expected, I guess. So we're gonna have to do a bit of a run before we call the game done of making it look nicer. But in terms of like showing that it functions, I think that works for me. Cool. So what's next? Yes, next will be making this actually do editing. Right? Sorry, I keep sniffing. And spluttering. Okay. So I think the next thing to do is to map a load of buttons into here. I think a bit like our buttons over here, probably the first thing to do is just get them to print like 0 through 24 and check that things are laying out as expected. And then update the logic to say on click, I would like to toggle the value and I'd like to see it replace the value in here as well. So let's save that as another checkpoint. Probably naming them slightly better, but hey-ho. So yeah, is this area? So the main grid, edit grid entity. Just has piece data on it. What did I do with my buttons here to make them clickable? Is this edit piece on clicks? Yeah, so I'm going to end up having to do something similar here, aren't I? Edit piece on clicks. Mm-hmm. Right, should we do the same slightly dumb thing here? Oopsie daisy. I come in here. Can I say edit grid button? On click. You. Oh, do you need access to game? Yeah, because you need to be able to grab the state off of it. You'll need to know which position you are. And for now, format print line. Clicked button in. Right. I don't know if there's a clever way to say, like, use the compile time stuff to generate the code that I'm about to write, but I'm hoping we use a bit of Emacs magic and make it not take a stupidly long amount of time. So if I have edit piece 0, edit grid button, on click will be a proc. There's game. It will call edit grid button game and 0. Edit grid button on click, sorry. Game and 0. And then we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now then, I don't think there's a nice way to do this particularly, other than to just go through and type them. Oops, my goodness, go away. Okay, that's fine, because these ones want to be handled differently. That and that. Can I grab all of these and I'll stick one in front of them? Alright, so you are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oops. Oh my goodness. Go back. 15. 15. Let's try again. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Very nice. And then, what I would like to do, grab all of that, and we're going to make edit grid button on clicks. If I can just do it like that. It's no compile time, isn't it? Will be equal to a slice of procedures that take a game pointer bang that in there. Obviously the types are broken. Reason being, take all of these, take it to the end, get rid of that, stick a comma in there. Oh, we're getting good at this. Oh, no, we're not. What's your problem? Proc, blah, blah, blah. Edit piece, huge long list is not a compile time known constant. Oh, fair enough. I thought it would be because it's a proc. Well, and it's being declared with a two doodly watts. Alright, never mind. We can worry about that more later, but I don't think it makes much difference to what we're doing. Cool. So we've got our kind of lookup, so we can grab a we can grab the right function by index and have it come back here and call what we want it to call. To jump quite a long way back. Nope. Gonna work? I don't think so. Let's go look for our entities again. Game screen, main menu, edit screen. It won't be the side panel, main grid. I think this. Just take the list. Yeah, so I guess you've got a button per thing in there. Um, I guess it is different 'cause this entity owns all the buttons. Maybe this should have been an entity that owns all the buttons. Well, we're not done in that way. But I think what it means is it makes sense to just pass straight through as part of that entity. The no, because the entity has the on clicks. Right. Ugh, that's annoying. Edit grid entity. Just handles drawing it. Yes. It's nice to keep that in one place, I think, because the drawing code then uses a load of stuff that's also used on the game screen. Would be annoying to have to pull out and read. What does that mean then? Do I have the notion of an invisible entity? I guess I could just put them behind. I think the idea of an invisible entity is not a bad one. Right, so my thinking is we draw edit grid using the same code. So drawing of it, basically we just say where the whole grid needs to go and it works out how it's going to put all of the squares in. I can't remember actually. Where's that draw grid? Draw grid. Is draw grid cells? I think this just takes its screen dim and divides it up. Yeah, so your grid isn't guaranteed to be the right shape to make things look square, right? This doesn't care. This just says, given the screen size that you're giving me, I will divide it up and draw cells into it. And it's the responsibility of whoever's passing in, if you want your cells to be square, to make sure you're passing anything that makes sense. So, I think we could just do the same thing, right? And just say, I want to make 25 buttons. And I'm going to make them all invisible. And I'm going to give them the dimensions and put them in the right place. So we can either add the idea of an invisible button, or we can add a Z value that is behind everything. Is there any real difference between the two? If I add a Z value that's behind everything, I will then push things into the drawable buffer and marginally increase the amount of work for things to do. And I guess I'm also requiring that it's actually got something else drawn over the top of it, which is true here, but probably isn't true everywhere that we might want just like a click handler. Right, so like for example, if I had a box that I wanted to click, and then I found that for user friendliness, it's nice to have the clickable region actually be bigger than the box. You couldn't do that. So yeah, I think we want an invisible entity. Uh, let's see. So my list of entities is in here. invisible click handler. Way to go. And invisible click handler data, which will be nothing for now. These things all started out as nothing, and they all ended up with stuff. Right, let's do that then. That will fail to compile because we need to go and add a switch statement case, and I'll stick it at the top because it is interesting. Sir, continue the right word. Break. You just do nothing. Cool. Everyone else still draws like they're meant to. This exists only in the gameplay sense. It allows us to have click handling, and then it doesn't draw anything. Neat. Let's come back to game.odin. We've drawn our grid. You go ahead and pull out grid pos. I'll just keep it the same for now. And grid dim. Oopsie daisy. That actually wants to live out here. That wants to live out here. Grid dim. Whack all of this in. You grid pos. You have become dim. And then the neatest way to do this. Or call. Gonna look a lot like this up here, isn't it? There, yeah. I was about to write the same thing. For call in that, for row in that. For call in naught less than or equal to 4. For row in naught less than or equal to 4. This piece index business about. It's the same thing. Maybe this was a mistake. I think it makes sense to count top left to bottom right, like you're reading. I've done all my drawing based on the bottom left, though. It means I think that working out where things live is easiest done from the bottom left. But then I want my logic to work from the top left. Why I have this little awkward thing. Right. Piece button pos equals that. Data equals that. And then it gets the on clicks. Oh, we never made our invisible entity thing, did we? Okay, hang on. Let's go back in here. Stick a to do. Down a little bit. Entity push. Visible click handler entity. Proc with a pos and a dim. On click. Proc. Pointer to game. Turns an entity. Right. Pos is pos. Dim is dim. Clickable is true. Type is in for thingy. On click is on click. Data is that. Nice. If we hop back to our to do, we can now make those. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Why are we inside of entity push? Almost certainly shouldn't be. Should be there, I think. The entity push is in the grid, our visible thing. And we have all of this stuff. We would like to say click handler pos is equal to a pos x is equal to grid pos dot x plus something. Which column you're in, isn't it? So plus col times oh, we need to know the click handler dim, don't we? All right. Let's have a think about that first then. So click handler dim is equal to width is equal to grid dim width over 5, height is grid dim height over 5. That's easy. Plus col times grid dim dot width. Y is grid pos dot y plus row times grid dim dot h. That sound right? No, everyone's upset. You're all upset because you are ints, so let's make you not an int. Pretend we remember how to write Odin. Let's do it again. What is your problem? Declared but not used. We can live with that. Oh, goodness, go away. Your problem is that doesn't exist because that's a typo. Right, so we get our click handler position. And we need to work out which of our slots that actually corresponds to. We'll call click handler index. That's to do. Once we've got a click handler index though, I think we can then do entity push invisible click handler entity with click handler pos, click handler dim, and our on clicks thing that I'm forgetting the name of. Edit grid button on clicks at click handler index. All there is left to do. Right, let me make that 0. We compile that, and everybody should print that they are 0. Ain't nobody printing nothing. Just mash something somewhere. Ah. Hey? Excuse me? That's interesting. they're doing all the way up there. You know. You aren't grid dim dot width, are you? You should be click handler dim dot width. Click handler dim. Five. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing off the side. You work. Right. Nice. Now, to be honest, I think I'm going to have to draw a picture to work this out. So, what did we use last time? Did we use Excalidraw? We used, it's called External, I think I was using before. Here we go. Right, so, got our grid. Let me do straight lines. It will not let me do straight lines. How do I do straight lines? Draw line. So, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. We've got our column counts and our row counts. So these go naught. No, these go this way, don't they? Naught, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Naught, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the tricky part is I want that to be naught, that to be 4, that to be 24, that to be, would that be 20? 20, 21, 22, 4. How do we get there from row and col? I'm not entirely sure. So one thought. Let's just check. So these are our col numbers, right? So if I that's col, that's row. We always just add col, right? So if we can work out what the row's meant to give us, then we just add col and life is easy. What the row is meant to give us, they're going the wrong way, right? So 0 needs to give us 20. 4 needs to give us 0. If I do 4 minus row times 5, then if row is equal to 0, 4 minus row is 4, times 5 is 20. Plus col is just 20, 21, 22, 23, 4. If it's 2, I get 2 times 20 gives me 10 in here. Is what we expect. Right, 5, 10, 15, 20. And if row is 4, 4 minus 4 is 0, we just get col. That's that one done. I think that should work. Where's my printing stuff in here? Let's click button 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Perfect. That wasn't so bad, was it? Okay. That means then. Look at that for code. I swear, if you're a recruiter or somebody who's about to like consider a referral for a job or something, I normally don't write code like this. I promise. This is an exception, not a rule. But needs must. Okay. Visible click handlers for every cell in edit grid. Nice. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Too many buffers open, really. Have a sip of drink. My throat's still going. Okay. That's feeling like progress. What do we do next? We update piece, right? What else is there to do? There's a point to make there, which is if I come into here, should I just say that each piece gets like one sprite for its pieces? Is that the easiest way to do this? Because I was thinking it'd be nice if you could do whatever you wanted, right? In which case we'd have to have like a picker up here to let you pick which piece you're putting in. I'll be honest, I don't think this game idea is fun enough to warrant all of that. I'm mostly doing this because I want to say I finished something rather than because I think this is a brilliant idea now. So I think we trim that. And what we say is this cell up here gets, I guess it can't be 0 because 0 is being used for empty, but it gets like index 1 sprites, index 2 sprites, index 3 sprites, all the way down. When you click here, it's a little bit like toggling a Boolean, but instead of it being true or false, you get 0 or your index from this grid plus 1 is your sprite index. That's what I'm going with. Oh, yeah, we do know which one's the active piece index. That's fine. Which means actually what we need to do is not in here, it's way down here. Instead of doing that, we would like to say game.state as a edit state. So a pointer to edit state. Did that. There we go. We want to point it to the edit state, so we need to be able to edit it. Right. Too big. Why won't you zoom back out? Right, there we go. Right, I'm just brain farting. What's going on? On a click, I just know which of these I am. I then need to go state dot piece buffer at state dot active piece index. That gives me a buffer with this many bits in it, so I then say n to read into that. Ah, do these actually go from the bottom? These might actually go from the bottom. I might have just done that all wrong. Okay, let me say here, old value equal to that. New value is equal to 0 if old value is not equal to 0, else active piece index plus 1. That with you. Type of piece. What's the matter with you? Undeclared name active piece index because you're not global, you're on state. Like that. And then we do state dot piece buffer at state dot active piece index dot filled n is equal to new value. Now, I think I might have done this wrong, but yeah, all that guff about getting the grids working the same way around was nonsense because my grids are defined from the bottom left. Ah, never mind. Right, let us get back to... Well, in fact, let's go just grab where this is being used. It's probably the quickest way to get there. That one in there. Which makes this easier, because it means instead of doing that, it is just col plus row times 5, I think. Lovely. Now if I select a different one. Lovely. Ooh, dear. Okay. Do we not have enough sprites? Okay. Okay. How many are we missing? Uh, right. We need one more sprite in the sprite sheet. That's annoying. Okay. Well, interesting. Why isn't that updating these drawables? Because it remembers the changes I've made. Right, let me go change everything. Right, they all remember the changes that have been made. Where are you getting your state from is the question. So what are you? You're in my side panel, which is... Oh, go away. Defined just above this. Piece buttons selected box entity. You get piece data. You get piece data from... That's because you're getting it off global. You need to be getting it off state. Hey, there we go. Excuse me. Did I overcomplicate that? Right, we come in here. Yeah, boy. Alright, love that. And this one blows up. Oh, how annoying. Um, shall we... What was I even using for that? It was called Critter. We go quickly add another sprite. Look at the beautiful art. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I made a bit of a fuss about having these borders on them. So we'll do that again. Can I, like, copy paste? No? You probably want the move tool. How do I grab an area? Is that grab an area? Transform a layer or selection? No. Not this. Is that snip an area? Yes. So if I snip that, copy, paste, drag, no. Move. You over there. And then gonna make a nice... Already kind of got a teal. If I run out of colours, this is why I did 7. I couldn't think of any more colours. I've got orange, I've got yellow. I've got green, I've got pink, I've got purple. Do a white one. And then, don't judge the way I was doing this. It was like this. Oh, yeah, bigger. Beautiful, okay. Fill most of this here in. Go around with the little brush and just kind of tidy it up. I am not an artiste. It's probably a way to do a like pick the color and then only replace that color, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm doing this. And then we make it darker and do around the edge. Ooh. You 2 pixels. Oh yeah, efficiency. So this is, don't worry, this is very placeholder temporary art. This is not going to be what we finish with. I just need something to draw. I actually have no idea how we make this look half decent. So that would be a fun problem for later. It's literally the last thing on my to-do list though. I think it needs to kind of work before we worry too much. Right, that's a glimpse behind the curtain. I think I've done that off stream, as I keep saying. Pop. Little red dot in there. Right. Let me save you and export. Exporting. File name. How do I export a PNG? Save incremental version. Save incremental backup. It was this, wasn't it? File of type. PNG image. Sprite sheet PNG. Save. Replace it. Do all of that. Check. This should now have some asset stuff. Which it does. If I go open that, it's got our yellow in it. Lovely. I recompile. You still blow up. Why? Because of that. There we go. Lovely. So, nothing saved. It doesn't carry through to a game yet. But we're getting somewhere. And I think, actually, carrying it through to a game is going to be slightly non-trivial at this point. So maybe something we worry about in a minute. So, tell you what, let's get rid of that. Let's... I don't know what these are. I bin these. You're both in... What's it? The image one? LFS. That we want. That's where we've been fanning about. Right. So... Edit screen basically works for tiles now. Changes not saved. Let's push that up. That's our hour. So I think that's as much as I'm going to get actually done for programming today. But I think it's worth a quick look in here. So that's done. Clicking the edit grid update the piece is done. We need to do rotation sensors. Save and use in game. And I think this is probably trickier than it sounds. We need to update bounding box. That isn't actually tricky, is it? But we do need to do it. So we need to update the bounding box to get game logic working properly. And then we need to position the edit grid and possibly move these around. I'm imagining most people will be playing on screens like this, in which case this can expand to fill most of this space, and this looks quite reasonable. These buttons are a bit silly. I think we rethink this, but yeah. We'll add this. I think I'm assuming most people haven't watched all of these videos. Frankly, I'll be surprised anybody sees this. So we get to there, you see how our grid resizes to be in the middle of this space and use as much space as possible while still having the individual cells be square, right? So we could stretch it sideways to make these as big as possible, but then these end up not being square, which feels like a bad trade-off. So that's where we've landed with that. Got a similar thing in mind for the edit screen. And at that point, the piece editing should work. I think there's some more guff around that. That is good to put in. So medium-term plan. I want to be able to export a what do you call it, like a game config as a string and import game config from a string. My thinking being this way, I could do a thing I like. I think, hey, that's cool. I can send it to my friend and he could play it, right? And he just needs to copy paste a string into the game. I think it would probably make sense to have like the ability to save game configs and pick from list. I think that just makes sense. I think it'd be nice to add some like game sounds. That might have been it for my list. I don't know. I have to go check my notes. That's the kind of thing I've got in mind. I think once we're about there, I think we can call the game done. No, I was also thinking it'd be fun to be able to replay, so like to save a move history and view or validate a replay. I think that might be fun as a problem to do. And again, thinking that if I send you a game config, you then send me back a text being like, whoa, I just got like 1,000,000 points. I don't know. I think it'd be fun to be able to be like, whoa, dude, show me the thing. Or I don't believe you. If I can send it here and I want to see my game tell me that actually what you've told me does work. Yeah. Whether anybody ever actually uses it like that, I think it's a fun idea. I think it'd be fun to both have like a validate button that just like ticks up to be like, yep, this is the score you should have got. Or to have a like replay that then ticks through the game with their moves. So yeah, that's I think what we've got left in the project, which is all sounding pretty good fun. But slow and steady, we're getting there. I hate to think, I don't know when we actually like calendar month started this, but we've had a few disruptions, and I think I underestimated how much slower a hobby project is going to move than like professional work. Just the fact that you have to do it in little fits and bursts. But hey, such is life. We'll get there. I think it's looking actually kind of fun now. Like this is certainly starting to look like I imagined it. There's so much UI polish we can do, right? Like it should probably have things on hover to tell you that the stuff's interactive and all that sort of stuff. I wonder if we're going to want to do like right click or something to set the intersection point, because currently everywhere is a what's it point. But UX is hard. Cool. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have, and I will catch you on the next one. See you later.